What's up, guys? We're back here with data-driven deer logs part 2. In part 1, I showed you how to import data from the NOAA website into your hunting log spreadsheet. If you missed that video, there's a link in the description. Go ahead and check that out, and that'll give you some important information to move on to part 2 here. So in part 2, what we're going to do is we're going to use some formulas in Excel to automatically retrieve weather data from our NOAA sheet in our workbook and to populate that in our hunting log, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. The first step is to actually insert a new row in the NOAA data worksheet. If you click over here right on the 1 in the margin, that'll highlight the whole row. Go ahead and right click and insert. Now it gives a blank row, and the reason I'm going to do this is I want to number these columns because there's a lot of columns, and the numbered columns are going to come into play with the formula we use to automatically retrieve this data. So I'm going to show you another trick I know here in Excel too. So go ahead and put number 1 in column A, and in cell B1 put number 2, hit enter. Now if you select both of these cells, in the bottom right corner here you'll see an autofill handle. That's a little green square. Here you can see I got a white cursor. If I hover the cursor over the little green square, it's going to turn into a black cursor. I'm going to left click on that, and then I'm going to drag this, and that will automatically number all these columns, and there's a bunch of them. So keep dragging until you get to the end of the list, and if you imported the whole NOAA data set, this should end in column DT. So go ahead and let go, and that'll automatically number all your columns from 1 to 124. So it's a good tip there, so you don't have to type a number in 124 columns. You can use Excel to do it for you. So once you've done that, go ahead and scroll back to column A. Now the formula we're going to use is going to rely on this date, which you can see it's a compound date, T for time, and then it's in military time. So if you scroll down a few cells, for example here in 22, you can see 1453 is the time, which is 2:53. And one of the things that we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to separate the date from the time, and that's going to be important for us to do to use the formula that we're going to use here in a minute. So the first step I'm going to do is to separate the date and the time, and I'm just going to do this for a single day. So I'm on August 1st, 2018 here, and there's an hourly observation from 12:53 a.m. Scroll down all the way until 11:59 p.m. So I'm going to highlight all these. Make sure you get the entire first day. And then I'm going to put Control C for copy. And then in a new sheet, use the plus sign down here. I'm going to open a new sheet and Control V to paste these in. And again, I showed this in the first video, but if you hover between columns A and column B, your cursor will turn into a bar with 2 lines. Go ahead and double click that, and that'll automatically resize your column. So once we've pasted this list, we want to pull out these different observation times from the date. So the first thing you need to do is on the Home tab, you're going to want to highlight the entire column B. Just go ahead and click the B with your mouse cursor. That'll highlight the whole column. And then you're going to want to change this to text. Once you've done that, go ahead and click in cell B1 and type just the time as it appears. So 00:53:00. Enter. Do the same thing for the next time. 01:, and as you can see, there's a list that's automatically going to generate in Excel. So if I hit enter now, it's going to automatically fill in the remainder of these. This is called flash fill. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, hit enter, and that'll fill in the remaining times. And this feature is only available in, I think, Excel 2016 and later. So if you have an earlier version, you're not going to be able to do this. You're going to have to probably go ahead and fill them in manually. And we want these times, and I'm going to show you why here. Again, this is going to feed into the formula that we're going to use. Now I'm going to insert a column, and I'm going to label this column B, NOAA observation times. Once you've done that, go ahead and click back into your NOAA Data tab. So what I did on this tab is I went through all the columns and I highlighted a few columns that I think are relevant data to pull into our hunting log. So I'm going to scroll over and show you one or two of those. So in column 44, we have this hourly dry bulb temperature. Hourly dry bulb temperature is your ambient air temperature. So that's a pretty relevant hunting related factor. In column AZ, we have hourly station pressure. And in column BC, we have hourly wind direction. I also highlighted wind gust speed and hourly wind speed. So I'm going to use these as a way to demonstrate how to use this formula to pull in your data. So now go ahead and click into your hunt log. And in your hunt log, I highly recommend making your first 4 columns, as you see here, actual observation date in this format, which will be the year, the dash, the month, dash, the date, actual observation time. In the format here is going to be hour. So if it's 1 in the morning, you're going to use 01. That's important. Minute, second. And then I have a column set up for the closest NOAA observation time. And then in D, the combined date and NOAA time. So what we're going to do here is pretend we're looking at trail camera data, and we're going to log some of our actual observation dates and actual observation times. And I'm just going to do about 5 here. So these are all made up, but this would be the type of information that you would enter. So let's say you got a trail camera picture on October 1st, 2018. So again, the format is important here. So I'm going to do the year 2018 dash the month 10 dash the day 01. And I'm going to do one every couple days here. And again, these are just all made up. These are our observation dates, and then we're going to put in some times to correspond with those. Again, format is important here. You need hour, colon, minute, colon, second, and I recommend always putting in double zeros for the seconds. Now we have some dates from our trail camera observations in the same date format as the NOAA website, which is the year, month, day. And we also have some times to go along with those in the NOAA format as well. So here's where we're going to use the first formula. As you can see here, 9:23 a.m. If we go back to our sheet where we separated out the NOAA times, there isn't a 9:23. There's an 8:53 or a 9:53. So we want something close to that. We want the closest NOAA observation time. So I'm going to write a formula to do that. So go ahead and click back in your hunt log, and this will be the first formula. This is going to be a VLOOKUP formula. And if you're new to Excel, I have a video on VLOOKUP, which is going to explain this in a lot more detail. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it here. Go ahead and watch that video if you're new to VLOOKUP. But the formula basically has 4 parts. So all formulas in Excel start with the equal sign. Type in your formula, which is VLOOKUP, and then you need to open parentheses. First thing we want to look up is our actual observation time. So go ahead and click on cell B3 in this example. Then you need a comma to move to the next part of the formula. Table array is where we want to look for this value. In this case, it's going to be our NOAA times. So I'm going to go back to the NOAA time sheet, and I'm going to select all the time observations here, starting at 12:53 a.m. all the way down to 11:59 p.m. Now this is an important part that a lot of people are going to mess up on. When you do this, make sure you hit the F4 key on your keyboard, and if you look up here, you're going to see B2 and B33. After you hit F4, they're going to have dollar signs added to them. You need to do this. So go ahead and hit F4, and I'll add those dollar signs. Once you've done that, click after B33 up here and enter another comma. Column index number, this relates to the table we just selected, which was only 1 column wide. So we're going to use 1 here for the column. And then we're going to do a comma to move to the next part of the formula. Range lookup. Here we have the option to select true for an approximate match or false for an exact match. We know that we don't have an exact match to any of these times, so we want to enter true here to get us something close. Once you've entered true, go ahead and close the parentheses and then hit enter. And that's going to return the closest NOAA time. So in this example, 9:23, we know we had an observation at 8:53 and 9:53. So the formula returned 8:53. Now here's the beauty of using a formula. Once I have that entered in once correctly, if I come over here and when my cursor changes to the black cross on the little green square, the bottom right hand corner, go ahead and left click on that. When it's the black cross, hold down and drag down. And that's going to fill in all of my remaining cells with that formula. Once I've dragged that formula down, you can see that I have an approximate time for 8:42. I have an observation on the NOAA time at 8. For 5:17, I have one at 5 o'clock. For 6:01, I have one at 5:53. So you can see that's going to get us the closest time. This is important information to obtain because we're going to use the actual observation date in the NOAA format to combine that with the closest NOAA time to our observation. And that's going to go in this column here. So if you look back at the NOAA data tab, you can see that this date is actually the date with a T and then the time combined. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into the hunt log again, and we're going to do another formula. And this one's called concatenate, equals CONCATENATE. And open your parentheses. And actually, before we do that, you can see here, Excel tells us what this formula does. It joins several text strings into one text string. So what we want to do is we want to join our observation date and our closest NOAA time, but we also want to put the T in there. Once you have your formula in there, go ahead and open the parentheses. We're going to join these text strings together. Our first text string is our date. So go ahead and click in cell A3 in this example. Comma. Next text we want to add is a T, and we don't have that in any cell here, but we can do that by using quote marks. Go ahead and put a quote mark, capital T, and in the quote mark, a comma, then select the closest NOAA time. And once you've selected that, close your parentheses and hit enter. So now you can see 2018-10-01 T0853. I have a combined date and time in the NOAA format, same as on the NOAA data. Once I have that formula entered correctly, I'm going to hover my mouse over the little green box in the bottom right hand corner until I get the black cross. Left click and hold down. I'm going to drag this down to fill in my remaining cells. So once we've completed this step, we're going to start retrieving our first weather variable. So I'm going to go back to the NOAA data tab. The first weather variable that I was interested in was this hourly dry bulb temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, Control C, go to my hunt log, put it in here, Control V. And once that's in here, I'm just going to take this highlighting off. So now I want to use a formula to look up this date and time on my NOAA data spreadsheet. And I want it to return what the temperature was at this date and time. So again, this is going to be a VLOOKUP formula. So go ahead and start with equals VLOOKUP. Open your parentheses. We want to look up this value here. So select that with a mouse click, click comma, and we need to define a table array. And the table array is where we want to look for this value at. And we know that value is on our NOAA Data tab. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to go ahead and get back to cell A1 first. So here's the potential error that people might make. Your lookup table array needs to have your lookup value, which is our combined date and time, in the first column. So I'm going to go ahead and select cell B2 here because that's the column heading for our date and time. Select B2, and here's a shortcut a lot of people don't know. Go ahead and hold down Control, keep it held down, hold down Shift. So you're holding down Control and Shift, and then hit the right arrow on your keyboard. That'll take you to the last cell that contains data, which should be in column 124 here. So again, I'm holding down Control, Shift, right arrow key. And with all those keys, Control and Shift still held down, go ahead and hit the down arrow, and that'll take you to the last row with data. Just like our first example, once we've highlighted our table, we need to hit F4 on the keypad. If you watch up here, that's going to add $signs to B2 and DT5620. So once you've hit the 4 key to add those $signs, go ahead and click in your formula bar with your mouse, enter a comma. Now column index number, you want to return the dry bulb temperature. So I'm going to go up and find that again. And dry bulb temperature was in column 44. But because we didn't include column A, this is actually going to be column 43. So that might be a reason to renumber those. I'll do that in a second. So I'm going to put in 43 here. Remember, that's because we didn't start our table in column A, we started in column B. So enter 43, comma. And here I only want the exact match because I want that exact date, that exact time. So I'm going to enter false. Close my parentheses, enter. That should give me my hourly dry bulb temperature. Here it says my temperature was 41 degrees. Now because it's the first time I've done this formula, I'm going to go ahead and verify that. So I'm looking for 2018, October 1st, 8:53 a.m. and I should have a temperature of 41. So when I go to my NOAA Data tab, I'm going to scroll down until I find October 1st, 2018 at 8:53 a.m. So here is 2018, October 1st, 8:53 a.m. It's in row 2238. I want to scroll over until I find the temperature. And here it is, 41 degrees. So that's in column AR. If I scroll up, that should be highlighted, and it is. So one of the things I'm going to recommend that you do right now, if you're using the same spreadsheet that I am with the full NOAA data, I'm going to go back. I'm actually going to clear this cell A1, the number 1 in there. And I'm going to renumber starting at B because I'm always going to start my table to look up with the date, not the station ID. So I'm going to renumber these columns. And again, if you highlight 2 columns, hover your cursor until you get that black cross, you can just drag this to the end of the data. And where we had 124, we should have 123 now. You can see that updated all those. Okay, I'm going to go back to my hunt log tab. And now once I've had this formula in here, if I hover on the bottom right corner until I get that black cross, left click and hold down, drag down, I can fill in all the remaining temperatures there. So I'm going to go ahead and check one or more of these just for peace of mind. I'm going to check this last one here. And here's a way you can check it easy. Go ahead and click on this cell, hold down Control and hit Z for Control Copy. And then on my NOAA Data tab, I'm going to hit Control F to bring up the Find menu. I'm going to paste in with Control V. And I'm going to find Next. That'll bring me down here to row 3576. I'm going to scroll over until I find the temperature, which should be in column AR. Here's the temperature, 25 degrees. Scroll up just so you know AR is the correct column. And there you go, AR showed us temperature 25 degrees on that date and time, and here it is, that date and time. Now I'm going to show one more example using the second variable, and I'm going to show how easy that is once you have this formula written for your first variable. So we looked at hourly dry bulb temperature. We're going to go back to the NOAA data tab, and we're going to go to the next highlighted variable, which is hourly station pressure. So I'm going to Control C, copy that. I'm going to go back to my hunt log. I'm going to paste that in the next column, and I'm going to unhighlight it and bold it. And now once I have this VLOOKUP formula written, if I click on this cell, and then this is important, if you highlight this whole formula in the formula bar, it's got to be up here, you can't do it from the cell. Highlight all this, click Control C, and then escape. Now we've copied it, but we want to escape out of here. I'm going to go ahead and click in cell F3, and I'm going to click back in the formula bar. So I've clicked in the formula bar. I'm going to use Control V to paste that formula in there. Now if I hit enter now, it's going to return the same thing here, which is hourly dry bulb temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to show you. And I got the same thing. The only thing we have to change here is this column index number. So I want to go back and look on my NOAA data tab to see which column contains my hourly station pressure. And that's in column 51. Okay, so when I'm back on my hunt log, I need to change my column index number here. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to change that to 51. Enter. And my station pressure is going to appear. So on October 1st, 2018, at 8:53, I should have a station pressure of 26.34. So again, I'm going to Control copy this on my NOAA data. Control F to bring up the find menu. Control V, paste that. So here it's showing 2018, October 1st, 8:53 a.m. If I click Find Next, it'll take me to the row with that. Then I want to scroll over until I find the station pressure. And here you can see it's in column AZ 26.34. Scroll up, that should be station pressure. It is indeed. We had 26.34. Go back here, 26.34. So it's that easy to paste this formula into your next variable. All you have to do is change that column index number. And then once you have it here, use this little green handle again. When you get the black cross, left click, hold down, drag down. And now I've filled in all my station pressures. So you can see writing the formula is way quicker than retrieving all of this information manually. And once you set this up for your variables, I'm going to show you how easy it is to add a new observation. So let's say you had these 5 already completed. We're going to add another observation for November 11th. So we're going to go 2018-11-11. Remember, the format here is important. I'm going to go ahead and click into the time. Let's say I saw a buck at 5:15. So that's military time is 17:15:00. Again, remember, format's important here. And I'm going to hit enter. Now, because I've already had the formula here, all I need to do is click on this little green box, drag it down. That's going to add my NOAA time. I'm going to click over here in this formula, drag it down. That'll add my combined date and time. Same thing for my temperature. Now I know it was 29 degrees at that time. Same thing for my pressure. Now I know there was 26.68 inches of mercury on the barometer. Again, I'll do one more. Say we saw something on the 24th of November, 2018-11-24. I saw it at 8:15 in the morning, 08:15:00. Now you can actually highlight all of your variables, click the little green box and drag it down, and that'll fill in all these at once. So there you go. Now I know my closest NOAA time was 8. My combined date time is the 24th at 8 o'clock. It was 32 degrees, and we had 25.96 inches of mercury. So there you go, guys. That's how you're going to use the VLOOKUP formula to find your closest NOAA time. You're going to use the concatenate formula to combine your actual observation date with your closest NOAA time, and the letter T, which is what we did here. And once you've done that, you can use a VLOOKUP formula to retrieve any variable of your choice. Again, if you don't have a lot of experience with VLOOKUP, I encourage you to watch my VLOOKUP video. There's a link to that in the description. Hope everyone enjoyed part 2 in this series. In part 3, I'll look at how we can use some of this information to identify trends. Stay tuned for that one. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks.